Welcome to Fortitude at Work, a podcast all about building your mental and emotional strength. Pull up a chair and join in the chat with your hosts, Leanne and John. Let's talk all things that put fortitude to work for you.
So, welcome back, Johnny.
Season 2, episode 3.
I know. And so how have you been?
Since the last recording a week ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
What have you been doing?
Well, we probably should have got changed. in that week. Because we're wearing the same clothes.
We are. Surprise, surprise.
It's only because we look so damn good in these clothes.
That's right. That's exactly it. Hey.
Okay, so what we were talking about, what?
Honesty.
Honesty, that's
right.
right.
Is there anything you need to confess to me?
Not right now. I'm not on the podcast, but I'm sure
later.
Yeah.
I'll look forward to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so last week we talked about honesty and that's probably the first starting point, isn't it, really, to feeling powerful, is just calling out where you're at this point in time.
Yeah. And I think just before that we said to notice when you're not settled. So firstly to notice you're not settled, then to look within to find out what's happening there. And then the next step was around being honest about how you're feeling and having someone to say that to.
Yeah.
And then being honest with your clients.
I
suppose.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Oh, nice segue into what we're talking about today, Johnny.
I know exactly what I'm doing. Because I've got a bit of paper that says we're talking about relationships with clients.
We are. We're talking about relationships with clients today. And the reason that I want to talk about this is because of my research.
Yep.
So the work that I've been doing in my PhD and looking at the small micro and sole traders who seem to have, I guess, a more, I don't want to say the word, I mean it in a good way, have a more powerful relationship with their clients than those that perhaps feel more at the mercy of what their clients want them to do or need to do.
Yeah, well, that stems from the fear that these people are putting the food on the table. They're paying for the roof over their head. They're looking after your bills, your family, and you're so scared of risking that relationship that you will do anything to keep it.
Right.
And of course, there's a toll for that. You don't have your own life. You give your power away to your clients.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And look, there are a few things that go in with that that perhaps we could talk about in another episode around really reflecting on what are the practical things that I could do that give me a bit of power. And the reason that I just wanted to acknowledge that now is because we're going to talk about client management today, but we can't talk about that in isolation as one thing. We do need to look at the whole suite of activities or things you could do in your business and within yourself to feel a bit more powerful. So, for example, later on, but I need to touch on it now, is that just humour me?
Yep,
okay.
Yep.
Later on, I want to talk about things like if I have a really strong sales forecast. So if I know, say maybe even 3 months ahead that I've got work in the pipeline happening, then I often can relax a bit more because I know I've got jobs coming along.
Yeah, less,
for example.
Hand to mouth. It's less.
Yeah, less hand to mouth. That's a great way of putting it. Yeah. If I know my numbers, I don't have to be all over my numbers, but if I know my numbers well enough to know I'm making a profit, and then it's not the same thing, but if I have a good cash flow forecast, so I've got some money in the bank, then often those are the sorts of things that make me feel a bit more powerful and in control of what I'm doing in my business, less stressed. Yeah. I'm just saying that's what the research has shown me. Yeah. People that have these sorts of things in place, business owners, tend to feel a bit more relaxed and that feeds into feeling a bit more confident about managing clients.
So what do you think gets in the way of that for people, for small business?
I've had a bit of an argument about this there's a Facebook group called Like-Minded Bitches Drinking Wine.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, right. With female entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I lurk there. I don't normally post because I'm old and out of date.
She's a lurker.
I am.
She's a lurker online, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I lurk there. And I've just been having a debate on there. I've actually put on my big girl pants and posted my thoughts.
You know, there's a risk speaking up online.
I know.
Telling people how you feel.
Anyway.
Yep.
And I think one of the things that helps with all of that is coming back to the whole sales and is having a plan.
Okay.
A business plan. And it doesn't have to be this cumbersome thing that you do once and never look at again. Even just having a one-page dashboard. I think I've talked about dashboards, season 1, dashboards. Having a one-pager that kind of says this is where I expect my sales will be.
Yep.
And if they're not, what do I have to do to get there?
Yep.
Whereas if I don't have sort of a forecast or a plan ahead, I do tend to sort of go hand to mouth.
Yep.
Oh, this has come along, I'll just do it.
Yeah.
And often what happens in those instances is we end up either having to do jobs with people we don't want to work with, really. We don't want to work with them.
Yeah.
But we end up having to do work for them anyway because we need to pay bills.
Yep.
We end up saying yes to work that maybe overworks us. You know, we end up working much longer hours because we don't want to risk losing someone. So we work really long. We say yes to everything.
Yeah.
And then we struggle to do anything.
At the loss of our own personal time and space.
Yeah. So having plans just helps to add that. And I just wanted to throw that in first because we are going to talk about how do I manage a client.
Yeah.
How do I be honest with a client? How do I do that? But you have to have all your ducks in a row.
You do. So just before you move away from that, the struggle that I think, or that I had, was I was very good at a job, and I was very technical in that job.
Yep.
But I wasn't great at accounting, forecasting, writing stuff down.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I chose to be in small business, I recognised that I love the creativity of it, and I love doing a really good job at what I did best.
Yeah, yeah.
But recognised very quickly that there was a part of this small business world where I had to do some other stuff I didn't like, stuff that wasn't me. And when you're in small, you can't go off and pay off a huge accountant.
Yeah, no, that's right.
And coach to do all of this back end stuff with
Yeah,
you. You actually
good point.
So spending even just a couple of hours writing down this stuff that you don't like doing, taking that, what is it, you push yourself?
Yeah.
And you go, I'm going to write down a forecast of sorts, a business plan. I'm not going to enjoy it, but I recognise it's that's the toll I have to pay for choosing to be in small business, and I will spend that time. And spending that time doing it with someone who can help you, guide you on that, is even better.
And Johnny, what if I told you that you could do that and more and more?
Okay, there's some
for only $25 a month.
Okay, and there's kitchen knives and.
But wait, there's more.
Okay, so
there's free tutorials.
Okay.
There's a community group. There's a place where you can go where everything is automated. Oh,
okay.
Dream world.
Okay, so
what am I talking about?
The resources are there. You just got to go find them.
Zero, $25 a month.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Do a forecast.
Okay.
Have a cash flow forecast. It's all you can do all of it really easily now if you can't afford.
Sure. So if you're a fantastic hairdresser or you're an incredibly good consultant or a plumber or whatever it is, you go, okay, I'm going to go and do a 10-minute course for $25 a month to get my ducks in order. I'm just going to open a Xero account. It costs me $25 a month. Okay.
And in there's a whole suite of tutorials on how to do a cash flow forecast and how to set a budget and all that sort of stuff.
And then if you do that,
that helps.
Lowers your stress levels.
Yes.
Lowers your fear.
Yes. Now, I do also need to say that there are people out there who tell me, and look, go and look at me on Like Minded Bitches Drinking Wine and my little post. Yep. There's been people that have refuted and said, hey, I've grown my business and I've never used a business plan. I've never had a plan. And if that's the case and you're not stressed, terrific. Yep. More power to you. Yep. That's great. But if you're someone who's felt a bit stressed, who's felt resentful that you spend your weekends working and yet again you've missed your kid's soccer game because you've had to work, then perhaps a plan is going to help to lower those stress levels. So again, horses for courses.
Fail to plan, Plan to
Plan to
fail.
fail,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Platitudes, leave them at home, John.
I know.
Leave them
Okay.
at home.
No, I get it. All right. Okay. So that's very cool.
So
so gaining power or feeling less powerless.
Yeah. So
have a plan.
We're going to talk about client management, but we're just saying
Yep.
have your ducks in a row.
Yep. Got it.
It's not in isolation. Okay, so this is another finding that came out of this PhD research is that those small business clients, those small business owners that spoke to me, they're not small business, by the way, they're micro business or sole traders.
Yep.
So they're less than 5 employees or they work on their own. Mm-hmm. Those that actually have a transparent client management system felt more comfortable saying no to a client or managing the client through a work process than those that don't share some sort of transparent client management system.
What's that look like?
Well, I think it varies depending on the industry that you're in. So, for example, web designers, web developers, often have some sort of software like Basecamp or something like that, where both the web developer and the client can log in to a central...
communicate with each other.
Okay. So if the web developer is saying, look, I need all your images to put on the website, you put it all there. On the software program, there's actually a planning schedule, so you can see milestones date by date.
And the client can say, I'd like this improvement on my website. And your developer will see that, and he can say, yes, that will cost this amount of money and take this amount of time.
Right.
And it should be done by this date.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Or I think the other thing that works really beautifully with it is you can actually say to the client, if you've got all your other ducks in a row, you can actually say to the client, look, as per our agreement that you and I have gone through and you've signed off on, what you're asking for falls outside the scope of that agreement. Mm. And so, yes, I can accommodate that for you, but I need you to understand this is the effect or the consequences that change is going to have on the deliverables for you.
Yep.
But if we're not honest about what the agreement looks like and what that looks like, it can become stressful. And I found that those that don't have that very transparent client process that the client sees, if you don't have that, then you're constantly either sort of going back and forth with the client saying, oh, okay, I can do that, and then working until midnight to try and get it done, or not getting it done and then getting upset because you're upsetting clients.
Okay, so that's about honesty again, and it's also about being articulate in the way you express it, and once again from me, learning how to say that well, to talk from I statements. Where would you get that sort of help?
Yeah, great. Well, this is something we're going to talk further on as our second season unfolds. We're going to talk about the benefit of networking and having a mentor and connecting with others. So that's kind of very helpful in others. There are probably going to be others around you that do that particularly well. Okay. Another place where you might start, and this is what I've done for my keynote speaking, Leanne Faulkner, fortitudeatwork.com.au. Yeah. What I've done for my keynote speaking is I've done a template in Canva, which is a quote template. So what I've done is when I send a quote off to a client who's asked me would I speak at an event, in that quote I've actually said on this date I'll do a half-hour consultation with you by this to determine what you want. By this date, I'll show you the deliverables that I'm going to do. By this date, I'll be here. So I've actually got a template in Canva that outlines each of the key steps that I've promised to deliver on.
Okay, so if you firstly agree that having this open and honest conversation will help both your mental health but also your business, then you go, and then if you have trouble articulating that, there's a whole bunch of resources and templates that you can use to talk from your heart around the limitations of what it is you're going to be doing in this contract.
Yes.
And it's so clear that whenever it goes outside the contract, that'll be just as clear
Yes.
And if that ever happens, then you can speak to that.
Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly it. And I think that's a key too, Johnny,
Yeah.
is that you can speak to that.
Yeah.
And particularly when you're a sole trader, because you don't have someone in operations that could answer that query for you.
Yeah.
You're it. You're the one and only
That's
person.
true. And having a mentor or a person you to role play that, or a person that you can send the email to before you send it to the client,
Right.
because they may have some feedback. Yeah.
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 And the other thing I found too with the micro business owners who use this kind of method
Yeah.
and find that it makes dealing with customers less stressful for them, they said to me that it actually puts a bit of a distance between their relationship with the client as a personal one-on-one thing and business.
Yeah.
So what they're able to do then is if the client comes in and asks either they want to move a deadline forward and you can't do it because you're only one person and you're working with other people as well, then you're able to actually say, well, as per our agreement, it's not me saying no to you.
Yeah.
It's the agreement.
It's written down, and that's boundaries. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
about personal and professional boundaries.
Yeah.
And that is that, yes, we can be best friends. When it comes to business, we have this very clear
Exactly.
very clear contract about what our expectations from each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not about you. It's not about whether I like you or don't like you. It's in the contract.
It's the deal.
It's the deal.
Yeah.
And the other thing too that those that seem to be thriving in their small business and enjoying the whole sales customer relationship were ones that said, look, it took me a bit of time to set up a client agreement or a platform initially to really think about what do I need to cover in there. Maybe for some people it's when you email me, I'll get back to you within 24 hours. Like that's in the actual...
Yeah.
So the client has that expectation. The client's not sitting there going, I emailed you at 9 o'clock this morning and you haven't gotten back to me and it's now 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because it's in the contract that says...
As per our agreement.
Yeah,
I'll
as
get
per
back to
our...
you within 12 hours.
Or whatever,
within
24 hours,
yeah.
whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, yeah.
And then all the other steps that lay out the milestones. And I had one of the micro business owners say to me, look, it takes a little bit of education with a new client when we onboard them to go through what our client management program is and how it works.
Client management program.
But...
Okay. Yeah.
Once that we've educated them on how we work and what the agreed expectations are, it's a really good way to manage a relationship with a client because I can be honest without feeling like I'm letting somebody down. I'm risking the business relationship if I need to make changes.
That's actually around safety for everyone because if everyone knows the expectation and they all agree on the parameters and the boundaries around it, then both the client and the provider can relax in that process. It's less stressful.
Right.
And you can all refer to it.
Exactly.
And it becomes very clear immediately if someone's not fulfilling the expectation, which allows people to then have that conversation.
Yep.
Right? And once again, these documents aren't in stone.
No, or it might be a software program,
they can be improved.
Trello or something like that.
They can be improved, they can be enhanced. To be either client specific or industry specific.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a great tool.
It's an excellent tool, and what I love about it is you and I are sitting here talking about well-being at work and mental health, but at no time have we actually talked about mental health.
Well, it's connected.
Right, exactly. So it's the very practical and applied things, and we know that micro business owners tend to be very forthright. Aren't we? We know.
Yes.
And very applied. So if it doesn't affect my bottom line, if it's not going to make a difference to me, then maybe I won't adopt it. But what we're talking about, and the evidence shows us that, the research actually shows us that. We're not really good on the airy-fairy stuff. It's got to be practical. I get you. So what that tells us, though, is this is something very practical that you can apply immediately in your business that without even thinking about it is going to help your mental health.
Straight away. Great tool. Oh, well, I've got a lot from this episode.
Thanks so much for coming, John.
Yeah, no, that's good. I'll be able to apply that.
Good. I'm going to send you my invoice
Yeah, I know.
with the details of me being a sole trader, okay?
That's right. I'll pay that within 90 days, as per our agreement.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Thanks for your time today. Hope you got some great takeaways from our chats. If you'd like to know more about John and his counselling, go to johndiamond.com.au. If you'd like to know a bit more about Leanne and the work she does in the mental health of small business owners, go to fortitudeatwork.com.au. Don't forget, check the show notes for any additional information about support and resources specifically for small business owners.